I'm going to go over in the easiest way that I can figure out how to do it, how to work with second pass marker sync techniques. Basically, if you are the second pass, if you're proofing someone's edit, it's important that you're not afraid to do a little editing. And four specific techniques you should know are deleting, adjusting, adding missing audio, or digging audio out. In this tutorial, we're just going to go over the first three. In a session, you might need to delete audio if there's a space that's too big, if there's an extra word that can go away, or if there's an extra editable sound that you can get rid of. There are a few different reasons that you would need to adjust things in a session, and it'll be easier to explain them looking at the session than trying to read through the text. Adding missing audio. If for some reason the session in front of you is missing a piece and you have been provided with that piece, it's important that you know how to put that in there and then resync all of the markers. So for each of these three, we're going to go over a couple examples in a session. If you look at an edited session, you'll see that the chapter markers at the top, chapter 5, chapter 6, are synced right where the break is. And that's how it should be. If you're in the second pass and you need to make some adjustments with the timing, what happens is, say for instance that's too big of a space. When you delete things as a QCer, you'll notice that now the markers are out of sync. So the chapter markers along with all the pickup markers are all going to be that far off. Some QCers try to avoid making edits because they don't want to resync markers. But it's not as bad of a deal as you might think. You just need to know some techniques. So for example, if all I was going to do was delete a little bit of space, if you shift click that marker row, so it's selected here and up top, when you hit delete, everything will stay synced. So if you just delete down here, it will get out of sync. But if you drag that and click up top, that's the easiest way. So any kind of editing you do when you just are deleting something, all you have to do is shift click at the top and you're good to go. Now, as far as adjusting goes, let's say that is too long of a space. So you want to put in a room tone right there. If you delete this and then put in a room tone piece, see there, that sync is off again. The easiest way to fix this is if there aren't any pickups between where you are and the end of the chapter, all you have to do is make another mark right where that break is. Click on the top row, click on your new marker and your old marker and hit delete, and then everything will be synced up again. So whenever you do any adjustments with room tone or anything like that, all you have to know is if you're shortening the spaces up, then when you reach the end of the chapter, it's just that quick technique. So something a little bit different happens when you have to add more space into a timeline. For example, if that space right there was too short and you add a longer one in, you will notice that now all of your markers are to the left instead of the right. So there's not a quick way to just do anything up here. It takes a little bit of an extra step to get this synced up again. If you go up here to time operations and say insert time, so you can see here that that's about 1.5 seconds off. So you know that you have to push this forward 1.5 seconds. So you say to yourself, neat, 1.5 seconds. Apply. Oh, that's not going to work. What it does is it not only does the top marker row, but it does the timeline as well. So what you do is you deactivate, you hide it and make it inactive, and then on that top row, that 1.5 seconds, you just add it up there. You can see it pop over, and then you can do your little adjustment technique again. So basically, between inserting the time with your tracks inactive and being able to drop markers and delete time just from the top, that's going to be a majority of what you do. The point of all this is that you can go through a 2nd-Pass session and make as many edits as you want. You don't have to be afraid about time moving forward or backward or anything like that. You can always resync your markers using those few steps, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. There is something that you should pay attention to. It's not just about your chapter markers. You want to make sure that your pickup markers are synced as well. If the edits you do don't move your timeline more than 2 seconds in either direction, then you're probably fine. You don't have to make any adjustments. But as an example, what if there was a missing sentence somewhere that you had to put in? Say right there. I have one set up here. When you put that missing sentence in, suddenly all of your markers at this point forward are going to be off by about 7 seconds. So not only are all of your chapter markers going to be off by 7 seconds, but all your pickup markers are too. So you just kind of do a little troubleshooting here, and you go to wherever that was, and you go to a spot somewhere before your next pickup. Add your 7 seconds. That one will be synced up, and your chapter marker will be close. Drop your marker up top at the break. And everything is synced up again. That might seem complicated at first, but after you've done it maybe a few dozen times, it gets to be really easy. You just need to know the steps for either clicking up at the top and hitting delete, or the steps for making adjustments and cutting back and then resyncing up at the top. Or anytime you need to add sentences in, going to the right place, and doing it that way. A little practice goes a long way, so find an old session that you have to work on moving those markers around.